So I'm back on the sofa with Dr. Charlie Beardall. So I put a request out to my local PD group of questions related to diet and nutrition. So what we're going to do is a Q&A now. The first thing on the list is omega-3. What's your view on that?
Well, I think omega-3 is very important, and you get that mostly in fish oils. So I think it's one of the popular supplements for people with Parkinson's, and very well worth taking. It does a whole host of other things, but it's anti-inflammatory. It turns the chronic inflammation, of which is a central part of Parkinson's, inflammation in the brain. And so I think it is well worth thinking about taking that as a supplement, or eating more oily fish. So the smash species, sardines, mackerel, anchovy. What have I got? I haven't gone smash properly, have I? Salmon and herring. So those are the sort of oily fish that if you can eat those on a regular basis, then they're high in omega-3.
So next on this is probiotics. What's your view on that?
I think obviously there's some very interesting, exciting research that's happening now on the microbiome, and the importance of that in Parkinson's as well. And obviously there's some dysbiosis, dysregulation of the microbiome in Parkinson's that's very specific to Parkinson's. So probiotics, I think there's a huge amount of probiotics on the market, but actually many of them are fairly unproven. But there has been research on, I think, a couple for Parkinson's, of which one is called Simprove, which has been shown to give some benefit to constipation for people with Parkinson's. So that's certainly one that's worth considering, but it is expensive and you do have to continue taking it. And there's a couple others as well, but I'm sure there will be some more that come out that are being tested now. I think there's about 8 that are being tested that might be relevant to Parkinson's. So watch this space for that. But at the moment, there's very little evidence other than on Simprove that they give specific benefit to people with Parkinson's. But I think this is an area that we will see a lot of advancement over the next 5 to 10 years.
And that benefit, is that in slowing down the progression, or is it just relieving some of the symptoms?
Well, as far as Simprove's concerned, it's it's helping with constipation. So if you help with constipation, it's not just constipation; it's a whole host of other things, isn't it? Because you're actually with constipation, you're slowing down the digestion of food. Your microbiome is getting the chance to change into something that actually is full of more bad bacteria than good bacteria. So if you relieve your constipation, you get back to a more healthy biome, which protects your gut wall, which protects the wrong things getting into your blood, etc., etc. So I think Simprove, just because it impacts constipation, could actually relieve a lot of other symptoms that are constipation related.
So next on the list is turmeric.
Yeah, so I mean that question comes up quite a lot. So it's curcumin, which is the polyphenol in. We hear a lot about polyphenols, don't we? These plant chemicals. There's about 8,000 of them, so there's a lot of these polyphenols around. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good for us. But curcumin, there's been a lot of studies showing the benefits of curcumin, but when you actually get to the benefits in humans, then the evidence is not so great. And so theoretically, curcumin in turmeric could actually be very good. But I think in the clinical situation, the benefits are evidence is fairly weak. And I think a lot of that, as far as turmeric is concerned, is the amount of curcumin in turmeric when you're cooking is very, very small, and so that's not likely to have much of a benefit, I don't think. When you get the curcumin supplements, the curcumin is much, much higher, and that's where the benefit might be. And some people do report that they get benefits, people with Parkinson's, and so it's individual. So if people want to try curcumin, then that's fine.
There's very little general evidence that it really does
there's very little general evidence.
So next on the list is vitamin B, which obviously covers a number of things. And what's your view on vitamin Bs?
It's known that there's often deficiencies in people with Parkinson's of B12 and B6. And so ask if you can have those measured, and then either up the food that has those in them, animal-based products, or go for a supplement if that doesn't work. And normally it's injections that are the best way of bringing vitamin B levels up. And vitamin
Sorry,
B is,
how would I get those tested? Would I go to my GP or would
yeah,
I go
to
to
your GP or
nutritionist?
your neurologist and ask for a test on those, to test that in your blood, both those two. And folate is another one as well. That's B9, and so B12, B6, B9 are the three really that are very, very important. So they're very important for the metabolism of dopamine, but also they're very important for the energy biochemistry in our body and the mitochondria. So B vitamins are really important. If you do end up supplementing, be very careful you don't over supplement with them, because 3, 6 and 9 can be harmful at certain levels.
Taurine, what's your view on that?
Well, taurine is an amino acid, like dopamine is an amino acid. There's about 300 amino acids, but we only use 20 to make proteins in our body. But I think there's limited evidence of taurine benefits in humans. There's some evidence, I think, in other experiments with animals and cells. And it has been shown to be an anti-inflammatory and various other positive things that in theory could be beneficial, but I think it's early days. It's just one, I don't know when it first came on the radar in Parkinson's world, but I think it's another one to watch this space and see what comes out with the evidence for whether it is going to be beneficial when you actually take it.
So a slightly bigger topic now, the MIND diet.
Yep, the MIND diet is a development of the Mediterranean diet. It was developed by someone called Dr. Morris in Australia. And she went through the literature looking for anything, any food that the scientific researchers showed benefits the brain. And so what she came out with is 15 different things to emphasize in the diet, only 15, of which 5 are ones that you should dial down on, and 10 that are good. And so it's a lot of them are the obvious things, like, eat more veg, but a big emphasis on leafy green veg.
Yeah.
There's a big emphasis on berries, mostly blueberries and strawberries, but also other berries as well, and seeds and nuts and other things like this. And on the negative side, it's about pastries and sweets and red meat in moderation, and cheese in moderation as well. It's things like that. So there's plenty of evidence on the internet if people want to find out more detail, but it is only 15 things. And it has been shown to be better than the med diet as far as Parkinson's progression is concerned, as well as the onset of Parkinson's. So
interesting.
So yeah, I mean, that evidence is not hugely strong, but at least it's some evidence. And there's no harm in trying it, so you might as well do it if the evidence is leaning that way.
That's probably a bit like the next question. So are there any issues with taking multivitamins?
Yeah, and the evidence in the general population, the evidence is very weak that you see any benefit from it at all. But if you are deficient, or if your body is struggling because it might need a bit more or something you don't know, then I think most people take it because it's an insurance policy. But again, make sure you get it from a reputable source that's third-party tested, so it's got what it says it's got, and they're not super high levels of any of these particular vitamins or minerals.
Another question is anti-inflammation diets. Is that what would those include, and is that relevant for Parkinson's?
I think it's very relevant for Parkinson's, and anti-inflammatory diet would be something like the Mediterranean diet or the MIND diet, but it would include things like the omega-3 oils, which dampen down inflammation. It would include vitamin C. It would include keeping away from the things that cause inflammation, like ultra-processed foods and refined carbohydrates and sugars and things like that. So, and some people would put seed oils in that category as well, even though I don't think the science is really settled on that. These are vegetable oils, sorry.
So sunflower oil.
Yeah, sunflower oils, corn oil, or thing like that, which are high in omega-6. Some research suggests that that is inflammatory, but it's a very heated debate actually in the scientific literature, and people seem to take their camps on one side or the other. So it's not really settled, I don't think.
So there's all sorts of fasting diets where you can do what I tried to do, which is not eat for 16 or 17 hours and then just shrink the window every day in which you eat, or you can actually fast for several days.
Well, I think the theory is that when you fast, you go into a state of autophagy. Autophagy is when the cells that have got injured proteins or not working very effectively get broken down. So effect your body's being cleaned out of the inefficient cells, ready to build new cells. which is very, very beneficial. But you do have to be into quite a fasted state to stimulate autophagy. And I think there's a myth going around that you just have to have a little fast and that breaks you into autophagy, and that's it. You've done the job. But it could be 4 or 5 days of fasting, which I wouldn't advise people to do unless it's medically supervised. With the time restricted eating, I used to be an advocate of pushing it to 16, 17, 18 and doing 24 hours and things like that. But I think the evidence now and the advice is more stick to 12 and 14 and make sure that you are, from the last time you eat to the first time you eat the next day, is at least 12 and 14 hours.
Okay.
And to give your body a break and to go into repair and recover from the last meal it had.
So if you have your evening meal at 7 p.m. and then you have sort of a breakfast at 9 a.m., that's 14 hours. So
that's 14 hours, yeah. Then I think there are a lot of benefits that can be derived from that. But I think quite a lot of the benefits that people have got from fasting in the past is that actually, because you're restricting the window within which you eat, you're eating less. Therefore, you are losing weight. And if you are overweight, then losing weight is one of the most beneficial things you can actually do to promote your health. Many aspects, many of the risk of the various diseases of modern times, are attached to being overweight or moving into the obese categories.
Are there any specific mineral supplements you've come across? One I've heard mentioned is magnesium.
Yeah.
People talk about that. Any views on those?
Yeah, I think magnesium, calcium, zinc, these are, in the literature, the ones that pop out more regularly, not about being ones that can be particularly beneficial for people with Parkinson's. And again, I would strongly advocate food first to people. Make sure they've got a good, strong, healthy diet to get these sort of minerals. But if they don't think they are, or they want an insurance policy, then definitely magnesium helps sleep, cramps as well, things like that, things that people with Parkinson's often suffer from.
So in summary, it sounds like there's actually quite a few supplements out there that may help a few individuals, but it's really a case of finding out what works for you, getting tested to see if you have a specific deficiency. And there's unlikely to be one particular supplement that improves everyone's outlook for Parkinson's.
Yeah, I think so. And
so I think there are relatively few people who specialise in nutrition of Parkinson's. You seem to be one of them. You know an awful lot about this subject. Are you open to people contacting you if they've got more questions?
Yes, very much so, if they want to. Yes, and if you want to pass my email around, then happy for people to email me and answer any questions that they might have. Yeah.
Well, so thank you very much, Charlie. That's been really, really informative.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks.